Do you want to experience a part of Mardi Gras in New Orleans any time of the year? Come to Mardi Gras World. The first Mardi Gras parade was in 1857, and the floats used to be pulled by mules. Today, they are pulled by tractors. Today, when you ride the floats in the Mardi Gras parades, you have to wear masks on your face so that people don't know who's throwing them things from the floats. The purple, green, and gold that everybody knows are the colors of New Orleans, the colors of Mardi Gras, actually stand for justice, faith, and power. In New Orleans, Mardi Gras actually lasts for multiple days, about 2 weeks out of the year. There are multiple parades, multiple balls, and it's just a big party for multiple weeks.
Don't freak out, but I think you're being watched to your left.
Each parade during Mardi Gras is put on by what's called a crew, and that's Krewe. And the crews are all nonprofit organizations that people become members of. They pay a donation to be a member of the crew, and then that's what allows them to ride on the floats. So everyone that's riding on the floats is a part of that nonprofit organization, and that's also how they get their funds to purchase the floats and purchase all the decorations for the floats. The parades are not in the French Quarter anymore. They haven't been in the French Quarter since 1973 because they're so big now, and the roads and the area is not big enough over there to accommodate the crowds and the floats. So each parade has a theme every year. All of the themes and the floats in all the parades from year to year have to be different. So I'm sure that they spend a lot of time coming up with unique ideas for the parades and for all of the floats to fit the themes. This Mardi Gras World is specifically Blaine Kearns studio. The artists that work here are employed by the Blaine Kearns company. Mardi Gras has only ever been canceled a few times, mostly by wars. Since 1857, only 13 have been affected. The most recent season of Mardi Gras included 54 parades, 1,061 floats, 588 marching bands, and more than 135,000 participants. The combined parade routes covered 301 miles, and the processions were on the street for 204 hours in total.
So you walk into this section of the warehouse, the flooring changes. And that's because half of this warehouse is over the Mississippi River. I hope that it does not fall into the river. Mardi Gras World is not close to downtown New Orleans. However, in the cost of your ticket to tour the warehouse, you can actually get a shuttle for free. And I'm assuming that it's both directions. I think it would be really difficult to actually walk here from downtown because you're walking through all of the shipyards. The
backside of the cruise terminal. Yeah.
So, like I said, this is right on the Mississippi River.
You don't want to be walking around back here. It'd be kind of weird. So the basic structure of these floats are 2 solid steel beams and solid rubber tires. Apparently they used to use tires with air, but they kept popping, and that is, as you can imagine, a big problem in the middle of a parade route. So now they just use solid rubber tires. Now you may be wondering how much these floats cost. So it can cost $40,000 to $50,000 just to start, like to build the basic structure of the float. And that doesn't include all of the decoration and props that go on it. Also, something interesting about riding the floats is you may be on the float for 6 hours because you have to load the float a couple hours before the parade, and you may be rolling for 3 to 4 hours in the parade. So every single float that rolls in these Mardi Gras parades has a bathroom on board.
So this is an example of what they call, I believe, a mega float, because they started to have a one vehicle, and then they were like, oh, that's too much. And they were like, oh, we're gonna keep adding on, so it's only one vehicle. And they keep adding and adding and adding until it turns into this like mega thing. And it's really interesting because back in February, we rode the Mardi Gras float at Universal, which is very similarly structured to this one. Ours was the riverboat, and this has multiple layers as well, but this is massive. I would say it's probably at least 2 times the size, definitely like maybe 5 times the size lengthwise, but height-wise, it's massive compared to Universal.
So to expand upon what Brian was saying about the multi-car floats, to have a parade here, there's a 14 float minimum and there's a 25 float maximum. Now, there were people that said, hey, 25 isn't enough. So what we're gonna do is, this is still gonna be considered one float, but we're gonna make it multiple cars. So then they started adding more and more and more cars. So there's still one float, one tractor pulling it, but there's so many segments that they were able to fit a lot more floats in the parades. The bulk of the props that go on the floats are made out of styrofoam. They have a machine that may do like the large cutouts, but once they get to the finer details, the artists have to do that. So this is an example of a way that they will shape the styrofoam by carving it like this. It's very cathartic. Here's an example of the pieces of styrofoam that they use, and they will glue the pieces together before they sculpt them to make sure that they have the thickness that they need for the props. And as you can imagine, there is a lot of shaving waste from the styrofoam, and they have to just chuck it. There's no other use for it really, but it looks like snow. There's just piles of it. So this is a really good example of the interior structure of the props. You can see they had a wooden beam in the middle for support that they then put styrofoam around. And then the styrofoam is covered in paper mache to protect it and help it keep its shape. So they will either do this or they will also make props out of fiberglass. But the props that are made out of fiberglass are a lot heavier, so they don't use those as much. This one's fiberglass.
I wonder, with all these nods to London, is this another foreshadowing happening? You'll have to find out. Is that Smokey the Bear? I just mentioned Smokey the Bear, and actually another nod to the 90s. There was a McGruff the Crime Dog float somewhere in the back. Super nod to elementary school right there. But where is the lion from the DARE program? What are we gonna do?
So at this particular warehouse right now, they will create and store the props, which is what they use to dress the floats. And if from year to year, if they're looking for something that's a similar size or shape, they may come and take something from here, repurpose it, redress it, and turn it into something completely different. So they are recycling these props constantly and reusing them on the floats. They employ dozens of artists and builders here that create all of these props, and the detailing on these are just exquisite. I mean, it's amazing that the city is so supportive of artists. They said that they do not allow any advertisements on their floats, so they are just wanting them to be unique and to support the artists. We saw them at Universal not too long ago.
These are very similar to what Universal had. Obviously, these are the real ones. And right at the entrance of the Mardi Gras World studio, you'll recognize this from Halloween Horror Nights. It's not just Mardi Gras here.
So they don't actually decorate the floats at this warehouse in particular. They prepare the props here, and then they have to package them up and ship them across town to other warehouses. So this is an example of how they will package them, and then they have to load them up on trucks and take them to the floats.
We got ourselves some Quasimodo. His tongue out being bleh. Look, I found the band Kiss. And when you look behind them, you got Elvis Presley.
This lovely lady behind me here is Queen Kong, and King Kong is just across the way over there. These two monkeys, they are pulled on their own through the parade, and people will throw beads at them because the people on the floats, throw beads out into the crowd, and generally the crowd's not allowed to throw anything back at them. But when these guys come by, they get absolutely covered in beads, as you can see by Queen Kong's lovely glasses up there.
I think it's really neat to come over here to Mardi Gras World and see what the real Mardi Gras floats look like compared to what Universal does. And actually, Universal has some of their floats made here. So they're actually outsourcing their props to be authentic. And I think that other than that, Universal does a really good job of capturing Mardi Gras. Now on the tour, they also have examples of some of the costumes that the crew members would be wearing as they rode the floats. And behind me, you can see that they're very similar to what we had to wear on the floats at Universal. They're just a little bit thicker and better quality, but they still have that like sequence bib. Aubrey, let's see what it would look like you trying one of these on and comparing what Universal has compared to the original.
So the difference is that these actually go, go on the front and then they snap in the back.
You said that they also had pants over there too, right?
Yeah. These would be my pants.
Would someone say that's drip? Is that how you say that?
I be drippin'?
Drip? Oh, gross. I wonder if they did that on purpose.
That's terrifying. What's he doing?
This guy here is so excited, his jaws even dropped. Parents always warned me if I didn't brush my teeth, I would look like this. So we just got done with our tour of the Mardi Gras World here in New Orleans, Louisiana. And it was really, really cool. What did you think, Aubrey?
I'm really glad that we came here. It was really, really cool to see all of the props. I mean, there's so many in there. We'd spent at least an hour just wandering around, because after you do the tour that takes a path, you're free to just kind of wander and see what you can find back there. So that was really fun, and just being able to see how many different props there were and the detail that goes into them and knowing what they're made out of and the process. And I thought it was really, really cool, and something that I think is a little different to do here that still is part of the culture. So yeah, I'm really glad that we came here. It was also pretty relaxing, I would say. So like, this is day 2 for us. We walked, like 25,000 steps yesterday. So we were on our feet in there, but it was still like leisurely. And we had a shuttle to get here. So it was really easy to make it over here.
I thought it was really cool to talk with the tour guides and find out that Universal actually has stuff made for their Mardi Gras here. And some of the tour guides were asking like, oh, do you have pictures from Mardi Gras over there? What does it look like? Oh, this is what their floats look like compared to ours. Some of those props that are used at Mardi Gras at Universal are part of those mass molds here. In the entrance, they have the pumpkins from Halloween Horror Nights that we posed next to a couple years ago. I don't know if it was last year or the year after, but that was really, really neat. Like Aubrey said, this is our second day, but we're already heading home. This was a short weekend trip for $55
Per person.
via Spirit Airlines. I hope you enjoyed today, and if you liked what you saw, don't forget to click that subscribe button, that bell notification, and I hope to see you next time. Are you comfortable?
Yeah, I finally found a nice place to rest these feetsies.
What do they say?
My dogs?
No.
What? What did they say?
Something about feet. Feet, don't fail me now. Feet, don't fail me now. Feet, don't fail me now. Feet, don't fail me now.